And a pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first event of the 2026 NASCAR Mock season, part of the Mock Season Central Network, as we get ready for the Cookout Clash here tonight at Daytona International Speedway, as voted on by league ownership. They move the Clash from original scheduled spot of Bowman Gray to back to the beaches of Daytona, and we are glad to have you with us tonight. I'm Carlos Zimmerman. I'm here to take you through this one here today. First of two broadcasts for the NASCAR Mock season on the docket here today, as we have the Clash, and then later on tonight we'll have pole day qualifying for the Daytona 500, all a part of Speed Weeks. Woo! It is going to be a doozy of one here today. It's going to be 70 laps split into two segments. We'll have a 20-lap sprint, if you will, and then a caution period, and then we'll head into the final 50 laps of the Clash coming up here momentarily. 70 laps in store for us tonight. Time to take you through the field, and also gives you an opportunity to check out the ownership of the NASCAR Mock season and who will be rooting on their drivers here tonight from the pit boxes. On the pole will be the number 22 Pennzoil Ford of Joey Logano, under the direction of the only three-man team of ownership: Dylan Young, Michael Norman, and Sean Henley. Their guy on the pole for this one tonight. Sorry, that's the pace car. Eric Jones will roll off in the second spot on the grid today, with Legacy Motor Club ran by Matt McIntyre and Cody Lamas. Ryan Blaney right behind his teammate here for this Cookout Clash. He will roll off the grid third. To his outside will be the 16 of AJ Allmendinger at Colleague Racing, which is, of course, piloted by Carson Gum and Jovan Anderson. Rounding out the top five will be out of the Gibbs camp, number 11, Denny Hamlin. He will roll off fifth. From the sixth position will be the 71 of Michael McDowell. At Aspire Motorsports, James Qualls, Rafael Leduc controlling the reins over there at Spire. Forgot to mention for Gibbs, the guys running that one, Kev Shearer and Ryan George as well. Further out through the grid, you have Ross Chastain next on the grid, followed to his outside by Chris Buescher. Kyle Larson will roll off in the next row with Chase Briscoe to his outside. Christopher Bell will be rolling off towards the back of the pack. To his outside will be the 48 of Alex Bowman. Here's Ricky Stenhouse Jr., one of the single car operations this year for Hayek Motorsports, being run by Emmanuel Hartnett and Austin LaPlante. Austin Cindric will run to his outside. Here's Shane Van Gisbergen getting a nod here today to roll off here for Trackhouse Racing, run by Jack Mitchell and Seth Cole this season. Chase Elliott to his outside. Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace will roll off from the third to last row, or rather fourth to last row. Josh Berry and John Hunter Nemechek, they will follow them. Austin Hill piloting the number 33, renumbered to the 8 car, from the 8 car, I should say. Ryan Priest to his outside. William Byron is going to be last on the field here this evening. Here's your command to fire them up.
Drivers, start your engines!
There's the command, and we are ready to roll for 70 laps of action here in the NASCAR Mock season on the Mock Season Central Network. Logano and Jones, they will roll off. They'll do their one pace lap, and then we will get into the festivities for this evening's race. I mean, no points on the line in this one, so not much to really consider on that front, but really just trying to set the tone for the season, I think, is the goal for this race. And especially with two Penske plate makers right there on the first two rows, you expect the Fords to really have a lot of the speed tonight. And if you're Dylan Young, Michael Norman, and Sean Henley, you're obviously very, very much excited of the prospect of that. But very surprising to have Eric Jones up there on the front row with some of that Toyota power. Of course, Legacy Motor Club, formerly of Chevy, and now making that march over to Toyota. So it'll be interesting to see how this one shakes out tonight. Again, 20-lap segment here in the open, then we'll throw the yellow, and then we will potentially have pit stops. That could play a factor tonight, as well as that 50 or so lap segment to close out the Clash here this evening. Should be a lot of fun, and glad to jump into this venture. Something long waiting in the making to make happen, but we're finally being able to bring it to all of you here this evening. If you're down in the comments, let us know where you're enjoying this one from. So we get ready for 70 laps, 23 cars on the grid to make this race happen here this evening. Oop, wrong camera angle there, and you get a good shot of these guys coming off at turn number 4. Pace car will make the hard left-hand turn into the pits, and for the first time in quite some time, the Clash back at the World Center of Racing here at Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. There's the hard left-hand turn for the Toyota Camry pace car. Joey Logano and Eric Jones will lead the field to the green, and the Cookout Clash is underway here in Daytona. Great launch from the jump here for Joey Logano here on the opening lap. But as we know, the draft here at this racetrack is oh so interesting. And that usually a big lead will not pan out well, especially with the draft of 22 other cars trying to hunt you down. Ryan Blaney trying to stick with him in this draft. Blaney trying to get back to the bottom, trying to stick with his teammate, but Denny Hamlin makes a nice move to the inside. But Joey Logano holding strength early, and he will lead lap number 1 here in the Cookout Clash. Talking with Dylan Young, Sean Henley, Michael Norman, they're very excited for what this room will do this season and how strong they think the Penske team will be, with all 3 of them in this clash here this evening. Denny Hamlin on that inside line, trying to get that inside line to go. But Ryan Blaney with a good run on the high side. That outside line may prove to be critical, but I say that. Here comes the 12. To the inside of his teammate in the 22. Ryan Blaney trying to snatch the lead away from his Penske teammate. But Logano with good strength on the outside will lead the first 2 laps. Haven't seen anyone go too crazy yet, trying to make it 3 wide. Obviously real early in this one to be doing so. Well, as soon as I say that, broadcaster jinx, Hamlin gets put in the middle, and now that 3rd line on the top side will start to materialize as Hamlin got punted up high by Trackhouse's Ross Chastain. You see further back William Byron and company, they're laying back, not trying to go too wild into this moment right now as we're still early in this one on lap 3 of this first 20-lap segment. Here comes Eric Jones to the inside for Legacy Motor Club. Logano trying to keep pace on the outside. He's got it by half a car length. But Jones getting a good run here on the inside. He'll be able to get by the 22 and clear into the lead. Our first big lead change of the night goes to the number 43 Advent Health Toyota of Eric Jones. 3 abreast, a few rows back in this one. Couple of Hendrick cars caught in the middle. Didn't talk a whole lot about them in the open. You see the 48 and the 9. Kyle Matthews and Charles Sanford handling Hendrick Motorsports here this season as they come off at turn number 4 to complete lap number 4. Eric Jones will lead his first lap of the night. They are 3 abreast, 5, 6 rows deep. Again, if you're just tuning in here, first event of the NASCAR Mock season in 2026, the Cookout Clash here at Daytona International Speedway. I'm Carlos Zimmerman here carrying through this one. So we look back up at the front. Kyle Larson manning that middle groove, but could drop to the bottom here with Bell vacating that spot on the inside. He will now try to go run down the 43 of Eric Jones as they start to bunch up here to complete lap number 5. We'll be right on board with that number 43 of Eric Jones. Look out the back here. He's got a good space here between him and Kyle Larson. But man, you look at the speeds of these race cars pushing past 200 miles an hour. Larson peeking the nose down, but decides to stay behind the 43. That might have been a mistake, as here comes the number 1 Wendy's Chevrolet of Ross Chastain for Trackhouse. Jack Mitchell and Seth Cole running things there for this season at Trackhouse. And wouldn't they love to have their driver come out on top, or at least on the podium here this evening. Christopher Bell getting a good run there, trying to take second away from the 1. After the 5 thought about taking past the 43. We're starting to settle things out a little bit here. Now a bit more 2 wide. Still 3 wide, a couple of rows, but these guys just trying to get to the end of that opening segment and potentially head to the pits for pit stops. No one's lost the draft. The 60 for RFK, ran by Levi McIntyre and Tim Fiegel. Currently lagging back after starting near the back row, but has not made any motion to move forward. 3-car train here at the front, if you're just tuning in. Running lap 8 of the Cookout Clash on the Mock Season Central Network. Here comes Ross Chastain. He'll make a move to the inside. Of the 43 of Eric Jones. Jones led about 3 laps. Logano led the first 4, and now Ross Chastain wants a turn at the front. And the Wendy's Chevy will take the top spot. Well, look now. Here comes Chris Buescher. Haven't talked about him yet tonight. He's made it 3 wide for the second spot. Now will he try to get a run on the 1 here? And he will have a run to the inside. It may not be a long time for Ross Chastain at the front of this field. 3 abreast in the first 2 rows here, inching each other there on the 5 and the 43. But here comes Chris Buescher to the inside lane. He's only going to give Ross 1 chance to lead a lap as the 17 comes down. Does he have the lap led? Just barely. As we near the halfway point here of segment number 1. Now the 20 car, pushed by his teammate Chase Briscoe as Christopher Bell wants a turn up front. Buescher will go to the high side here. The lone Ford amongst the front few right now. That 20 car, that Marine Toyota, going to carry a lot of speed here in the speed weeks. He wants a turn to lead a lap at the stripe. It's Buescher by a fender. An RFK team, again, led by Levi McIntyre and Tim Fiegel. Very sneaky team that could have a lot of success coming up here in this NASCAR Mock season. And always setting the tone first at Daytona. That Gibbs team, led by the Pennsylvania natives, Kev Shearer and Ryan George, they definitely want to factor in their name into this, as it's going to be 3 wide for the race lead. Here comes the 19 of Chase Briscoe with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. pushing him along in the draft. And they are once again 3 wide through the entire pack. Eight laps to go left here in segment number 1. Now, oh my goodness, Stenhouse really pushing the issue, trying to run the Gibbs pair up the track, and they do. Nearly win 4 wide, but they hang in there. 47 car, him and the 71. The only ones that don't have a teammate in this race here tonight. Well, and Austin Hill as well. Running that 33 car, you see him about 7 rows back as Bell and Briscoe fighting for the lead at the line. That time by, it was the 20. Good battle here Just trading, not any paint, but trading the lead back and forth, and everyone trying to take turns here at the front. Buescher third on that outside line. Here comes Shane Van Gisbergen. He's second in line on that inside, pushing the 47 along. The 45 slides up. Back there, Tyler Reddick, but we'll keep things 3 wide. 3 wide's fine here, but when he gets 4 wide, it gets a little dicey. Not a lot of room to operate. It's Chase Briscoe. Settles into the race lead with a 47. Settling into that second spot. How about Kyle Larson hanging around in that middle groove with a little bit of good run off of the corners? He is able to work his way back up into third with Van Gisbergen settling into the 4th spot, and they're 3 wide elsewhere. Here comes Kyle Larson to the inside. Oh, 47 slams the door, though. He wants a turn to lead the Cookout Clash. And a couple of cars ducking into the pits. Trying to get ahead of the segment caution. Again, it is 2 times the wear and fuel consumption in this race, so that we were guaranteed pit stops. So the window is about 15 laps here. The 2 that ducked into the pits. The 12 of Ryan Blaney and the 71 of Michael McDowell. And then they only came together, so that could make things interesting. I'd be intrigued here to see if a group now decides to come in together. Yep, here we go. Bunch of the leaders down into the pits ahead of the segment caution. Everybody but about 5 cars coming in, and we got trouble coming into the pits. The 48's around. That's Alex Bowman bouncing off of one driver. 33 of Austin Hill with damage. The 45's got a buckle on the hood. Big time trouble coming into pit. There'll be extended stays for these guys on pit road as Michael McDowell and company get ready to rejoin traffic. Only cars that appeared to had stayed out were the 97, the 47, the 60 of Ryan Preece and Ross Chastain and company. I believe, did that bring the yellow out altogether? No, it did not. As everybody comes out of the pits. Let's catch up with the leaders and see if anybody... Yep, here comes Ricky Stenhouse. Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG. He's into the pits. Ryan Preece, Ross Chastain, John Hunter Nemechek. So everyone has come down, and we'll see how this all cycles out. But if you're just tuning in here as we near the end of the segment, Alex Bowman collides with another. And a couple other drivers getting damage as because of it. You see the 45 there looking like a Whelen modified with all the damage that he had experienced after colliding with the 48. 48 car missing the back deck lid as well, so he's definitely going to be hampered by this. As SVG and Ricky Stenhouse, they exit the pits. Kyle Larson coming around. We'll see how they'll all get to bunch back up here in a little bit with the caution coming out for the end of the opening segment. We'll see how it all shakes out and who will come out with the lead. And what would be important here is that all these guys bunch back up together. That would be critical for them to do that, to be able to just create another draft and get everybody bunched back up. Here at the line, we'll see who comes out as the leader. It is indeed the 71 of Michael McDowell, who cycles out as the race leader, but he is all by his lonesome as we approach 2.5 laps to go here in the opening segment of the Cookout Clash. You got Kyle Larson, who has cycled out in second, but then you got a good pack here of Logano, Stenhouse, Blaney, Elliott, Christopher Bell, and SVG. They could easily suck back up to those 2 running on their own and try to make the end of this segment interesting. See Bubba Wallace trying to catch the tail end of this. Ryan Preece rounding out the top 10 of everyone in this lead group. Kyle Larson, though, starting to catch up here to Michael McDowell. One car now out of the race. It will be the 33 of Austin Hill. The damage too much for them to repair and get him back out onto the racetrack. So his Cookout Clash run comes to an end at around lap 17. Looks like Josh Berry also got a chunk of that pit road incident as well. So 4 cars, the 21, 33, 45, 48. The 33 can't continue. The other 3 will, however. As we get ready to come here to the end of segment 1, white flag in the segment. Kyle Larson leads with Michael McDowell in second, but that other pack is coming in a hurry with Joey Logano, the pole sitter of the Clash, leading the way side by side between the 5 and the 71. And Michael McDowell, the lone Spire entrant here in the Cookout Clash. But don't look now. Joey Logano coming with a full head of steam. Will he stick it to the inside here of the 71? No, he's going to give him a good push into the corner. But the 5 had a good enough run that he may be able to hang on here. 71 pushes up in front of Kyle's teammate Chase Elliott. And the winner of the opening segment will go to the HendrickCars.com Chevrolet of Kyle Larson. So the caution is out. I meant to throw it before they got to the line, but either way, they will come back around and will take the yellow, and I don't think anyone's going to pass Mr. Larson here coming to the stripe, but either way, he was the leader at the line. Well, Logano's going to try and make it interesting. Oh, this is my mistake, guys. It may not matter in hindsight. I'll know this for future things. Set the line. Give it to the 5 anyway. It worked out. So caution waves to mark the end of segment 1. A little uneventful till we got to that pit cycle. That saw 48 and the 45 get into trouble, along with the 33 and the 21. While this caution segment goes on, we're going to see if they decide to bring it back down into pit lane, just to top things off here before we are going to go back real quick and take a look at what happened. Again, this is live, so we'll have to do it in live time. So there you go. Top 10 in this segment. Kyle Larson, Joey Logano second, Michael McDowell third, Ryan Blaney fourth, Chase Elliott 5th, Christopher Bell 6th, Ricky Stenhouse 7th, Shane Van Gisbergen 8th, Bubba Wallace 9th, and Ryan Preece, he rounds out the top 10 again with only one car now behind the wall, the 33 of Austin Hill. So will we have another round of pit stops? And it looks like we're going to. So why don't we document these pit stops before we go back and take a look at what happened to Alex Bowman and company. You know, that 45 is going to be well off the pace for the remainder of this clash, but Kyle Larson will lead them down into the pits. We'll see if things shake up here for this second and ultimately final segment. 2 tires onto the right sides of our segment winner. See if they go all 4. Nope, going to be just 2 tires for Kyle Larson, and he is off and away, and he is going to have his Hendrick teammate right behind him. Out of the pits, as everybody else looks like they decided to go with 4 and a full can of fuel. Wow, Logano's going to fall way behind. It's the first 10 off the pits, the 5 and the 9. Then Ryan Preece, Shane Van Gisbergen 4th, Bubba Wallace 5th. Looks like Allmendinger for Colleague Racing will come out 6th. There's Josh Berry, got involved in that pit lane incident. He's out 7th. Eric Jones 8th, the outside pole sitter. Here's William Byron, who started last on the field. He'll be out 9th, and then Ryan Blaney rounds out the top 10. So give me one brief moment. I'm going to go back here, and we're going to check on what happened with the 48. So we're going to switch scenes really fast, and then we'll come right back in just a second to see the resumption here of... Okay, Ricky. That sounds about right. We'll resume the Cookout Clash here in just a moment. Stay with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're now ready to take a look here at the replay of what happened with Alex Bowman coming down into the pits. Everyone backing down, trying to slow down. 45's just coming up on him fast. Yeah, the 45 just never stopped or never slowed down in time. And that's what caused the incident coming down into pit road. We'll back it up again and get a different look at it. Okay, maybe not that angle. Let's go top down with a helicopter. And you see the 48 rolling down the pit lane speed, and I don't know what Tyler, he's still at 100 miles an hour when he makes contact with the 48, and then you see the 21 of Josh Berry bang off of him. Nowhere for the 33 to go. William Byron just missing his teammate. And that's why Austin Hill is now out of the contest. See, that front end damage just too much to repair for that C4 Energy Chevrolet. And did they go instantly behind the wall? Yep, indeed they did. So he is our only exit from the race for the time being. So there you go. There's your look at that crash that came into pit lane at the start of the pit cycle. We'll step aside real quick, and then we'll get you back to the resumption of the Cookout Clash after this. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here as we are still under the caution period in the Cookout Clash with about 46 laps to go. Carlos Zimmerman with you on this Thursday afternoon, wherever you may be. We're glad to have you here. As Kyle Larson is the leader coming out of pit lane. Pace car lights are off. That means we are one to go to get back to green flag racing. If you're just tuning in, one car out of the race. That's Austin Hill in the 33. Hate to see that happen. He will pilot that 33 for the season. That number, of course, being renumbered from number 8, and we're keeping it that way out of, respect to the real-life decision that Richard Childress Racing made in the wake of Kyle Busch's passing to renumber that 8 car to 33. And the number 8 will not be recycled in until Brexton Busch, Kyle's son, is ready to make the jump to the Cup Series. So we'll model that as well here in the NASCAR Mock season. How about these two Hendrick cars here at the front? If you're Kyle Matthews and Charles Sanford, you're loving to see that right now. Still a lot of racing to be done. But obviously, to have them near the front of the pack early on shows the strength that Hendrick team will have this season. You got another Hendrick car on the fringe of the top 10. That's William Byron back there at 9th. Started last on the field this evening. This isn't the only network as they get ready to go double file here for the restart. Not the only mock season amongst the family of mock seasons here in Mock Season Central. We got Major League Baseball coming up for you later on this evening in prime time with the Los Angeles Angels and the Houston Astros meeting in the MLB Mock season coming up later on this evening right here on the Mock Season Central Network channel. So join us for that tonight. Whole day qualifying We'll follow this after a brief break, because I'm definitely going to need a break after this lengthy one. Base car is in. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott get the field back under the green flag for our second and final segment of the Cookout Clash. Down the backstretch they go. You see Tyler Reddick definitely well off the pace back there. That is going to slow up some cars. 21 might still be fighting a little bit of damage as well, as he's actually holding up two Penske drivers right there. And the 48 also going to be off the pace with the damage he had in that pit road crash. Everyone else still feels pretty good, though. Kyle Larson pacing the field. How about Bubba Wallace and A.J. Allmendinger getting into the fray here? First time we've really had a chance to talk about these guys. Bubba Wallace from 2311. R.J. Bishop, Nick Gunther heading up that team for this season. The team of Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, as we mentioned. Riley Herbst will be in the 35. You'll see him in pole day qualifying. You'll see the 67 as well of Corey Heim. We'll run a part-time schedule in that fourth ride for 2311 this season. Of course, congrats to the real-life Corey Heim. His win at Naval Base Coronado this last weekend in the NASCAR Cup Series in just his 13th start. Will he replicate that or even maybe do it even sooner here in the NASCAR Mock season? Allmendinger with Colleague. His teammate in the 10, Ty Dillon, not in this race, but you'll see him in qualifying and the Daytona 500. So he sees himself up here in second place right now in that Celsius Chevy. So from the looks of it, we got about 19 cars in this lead pack, as the 21 looks like for Josh Berry, which of course is Wood Brothers Racing. That's run by Keith Batson and myself for this season. So Keith and I's driver a little bit off the pace with the damage he experienced early in pit road. So it'll be about 19 cars that will be able to keep pace here for likely the remainder of this event. And of course, you got to think of lap traffic becoming a factor as well, and the pit window being about 17 to 18 laps. So if this goes green the rest of the way, if I do my quick math, we're at lap 30, and we're about 8 laps into the pit cycle, and you expect it to be about another 8 or 9 laps, and you'll start seeing cars duck into the pits. Fuel strategy you didn't think was going to be a factor tonight, but it will be. As the 5 of Larson continues to do a good job pacing this field. Allmendinger and Wallace have not really broken away from each other. They've maintained themselves up there in second and third. Michael McDowell and Ryan Preece in the second row, right behind them. Now here's a move, A.J. Allmendinger to the inside of the 5. As they go 2 by 2 by 2 through this pack. Ricky Stenhouse kind of lagging back there at the tail end of this pack. Obviously, you don't want to lose the draft, especially when your car is still up to a pretty good standard, but he is starting to lose connection with that 19 of Chase Briscoe. We'll see if he can keep up, but here comes A.J. to the inside of Kyle Larson at the stripe. Close. Give it to the 5. But now Michael McDowell wants to get back to 3 wide racing. The 71 punts his way to the inside and wants to take the race lead away, and will. Michael McDowell, the lone Spire entrant in this one. Trying to lead a lap here in the Cookout Clash. Nearing the halfway point of the race overall. We complete lap 32. The line this time, it's Allmendinger leading. Well, we have some lulls here. Gives us a chance to take a look at other teams that are not necessarily participating in this clash. Looking through my roster here. Mentioned RCR, their lone entrant now out. In Austin Hill, David Culpepper and Anthony McCrory. The two that will tandem to lead that team this season. Rick Ware Racing has one entry. For the full-time slate, it will be the 51 of Cody Ware, Nathan Ormond, and Charles Belding. Will run the dials, if you will, for that 51 squad. Let's cycle through here. Front row not represented in this. One of the bigger teams. As Michael McDowell continues the lead, and they're starting to run down that 45 of the off-speed Tyler Reddick. Front row, I mentioned, that's Allison Liara and Stephen Pollard III. Running that three-car full-time operation. Noah Gregson in the 4, Todd Gilliland in the 34, Zane Smith in the 38. The 36 car, Chandler Smith, will run a part-time schedule. And then Haas Factory team not in this race either. Cole Custer in the 41. Dylan Pote, Cole Deaver leading that camp here this season. All right, we're going to get some action here. Here's Tyler Reddick. Going to run up on the lead pack here, maybe splinter these guys. They're going to try and put him in the middle, but instead, he'll block the inside line. That 45 will. Now the 71 punts him out of the way. Only 3 cars were able to break away as the 45 splits them up. It's A.J. Allmendinger, Christopher Bell, and the 60 of Ryan Preece. Everyone else starting to get away from the 45, but not everyone able to. 45 nearly slid down in front of that 97. It'll be key here that some of these guys are able to just stay together, be able to bunch back up and run down that trio that was able to break away. And ultimately, the ultimate loser out of this looks like it's going to be the 5 of Kyle Larson, who led us back to the green on the restart. So, they all get by the 45 with not much incident. These guys will try to bunch back up together and run down this lead pack. So we're just past halfway. Here in the Cookout Clash, if you're just tuning in, I'm Carlos Zimmerman. Glad to have you with me here from Daytona. Well, I say they're going to bunch up, but now the pit cycle has begun, and this is not going to be good news. For the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger for Colleague, he is the lone man down here into the pits. And he will be on an island. And that is not good for him in terms of strategy. Now it's just a 2-car breakaway of Christopher Bell and Ryan Preece. Ryan Blaney, Ross Chastain leading this second pack. Be intrigued to see who decides to make their move into the pit lane this time by. Here comes the 60. And the 11 and the 5. Just 3 cars. In 3 different manufacturers at that, with the Ford of Preece, the Toyota for Denny Hamlin, and then the Chevy Kyle Larson. Tyler Reddick will also jump into this pit cycle as well. A.J. Allmendinger out of the pits. He will get lapped here by the 20 of Christopher Bell. The pit cycle window has opened yet again. 20 and the 12 trying to get by the little bit slower 16. The 1's going to get held up here, but now AJ wisely moves out of the way. All right, this time by, who will make the move to the pits? Here comes the 20. And this will be a good pack of cars here. Looks like about 7 or 8 that have made the dip here into the pits on lap 39 of the 70 we are scheduled to complete tonight as Josh Berry exit his pit. Bell will slide into his box. I'm going to watch the 20 here, and obviously you got to go 4 tires and full tank of gas. I was intrigued. I should have watched the 5's pit after he took only 2 tires. That's probably why he had to come in a lap early. 20 car out in the way. The 12 of Ryan Blaney was the one that stayed out, and now he will now come into the pits, and this should be the last bit of the cycle. Ryan Blaney, Chris Buescher, Austin Cindric, SVG, William Byron, Chase Briscoe should be the last ones. We're going to watch the 20 here. This is the guy it should cycle out to. Allmendinger starting to catch up to him here with Ryan Preece. And we'll see how this all shakes out. You never can tell nowadays. The 16 is able to get by. That, I believe, is actually going to be a pass for position. Got the stripe. Did that change his spot? Yeah, it did. So you could be looking at your potential race leader right here as the last of the pit cycle cars are coming out. Here's the 12, and the 16's coming. So this should cycle out to colleagues A.J. Allmendinger, and indeed it will. So maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe coming down by yourself was the right move if you are the 16. My bad, A.J. 60 and the 20 are able to clear the 12 and the 17, and this should cycle out to be your race leader, the 16 of A.J. Allmendinger. Here you go. As we reach 30 laps to go here in the Cookout Clash. Allmendinger the leader. Bell going for second. Ryan Preece in third. Blaney cycles out fourth. Buescher out fifth. Denny Hamlin sixth. McDowell seventh. Chase Elliott will be eighth. Austin Cindric ninth. And Kyle Larson rounds out the top 10. And what these two ought to do right here, the 2 and the 5, they ought to maybe let this little bit bigger of a pack catch up to them, and so they can bunch up together and then start to run down the rest of the leaders. And 1 car out of the race, Austin Hill. 1 car now off the lead lap, the very damaged 45 of Tyler Reddick. Wide for a moment there for second, but Ryan Blaney assumes that position. But now you're 3 wide for third between the 20, the 17, and the 60. So I'll bring out my inner Larry Mack here. These guys coming down laps 37 through 40 after pitting under caution at lap 22. You got to think the next window will be between laps 52 and 55, if I'm doing my math right. And that could make for a really interesting finish if this goes green the rest of the way. Because that would put that last window up against the finish, and that could make a whole mess of this. As A.J. Allmendinger leads here at lap 43 of 70 in the Cookout Clash. I'm going to step aside here for a brief moment as we do our version of cranking things up. Enjoy the sights and sounds of Daytona International Speedway in the first event of the NASCAR Mock season. I'll step aside for a brief moment and be back right before the next round of pit stops here on the Mock Season Central Network. back here in Daytona on the Cookout Clash. We're on the MSC Network. I'm Carlos Zimmerman. We have got quite the log jam here amongst our leaders. The slower cars of the 48 of Alex Bowman and the 21 of Josh Berry have really made a mess of things as the leaders, A.J. Allmendinger and now Denny Hamlin on the inside line in that progressive Toyota, have really nowhere to go to get around the 48 and the 21. And that could open the door for that second pack, led by currently Austin Cindric last time by and Ross Chastain, to start to run down these leaders here. A pack of 8, as now the 21 and the 48 are no longer side by side. That might open the door for the high side to get around these slower cars. Hamlin peaking inside the 48, can't get there, but the 16 now starting to make some inroads. .48 still blocking that inside line. That's Hamlin, Elliott, and Bell on the inside. Of course, the Dinger leading the way, and now he'll swing it to the inside to get around the 21. Cindric, Buscher, Priest, 2 teammates there at RFK on the top side. Then the 71 of McDowell. Blaney going to follow along with the 16 in the draft. Is the door about to back open for pit stops? Yes, it is. Here at lap 50 with 20 to go, and that leads me to believe that these cars are not going to be able to make it to the finish as Allmendinger brings it back down for another pit stop. Alex Bowman follows him in, but again, much like the last pit stop, he's the only lead lap car to bring it in. As Ryan Blaney assumes the race lead. That second pack was starting to catch. Gained about 1.5 seconds that last time by. As the front 4 are able to get by the slower 21, we'll see who ducks down into pit lane this time by. I'll be intrigued to see how many try to stretch it and try to make it on this, make this be the final pit stop of the race. And it looks like nobody came into the pits that time by. So strategy coming into play here in the back end of the Cookout Clash. No points on the line, just bragging rights and trying to set the tone for Speed Weeks. With pole day qualifying coming up later, the duels this weekend, and of course the big kahuna, the NASCAR Mock Season Daytona 500, coming up soon. Couple cars ducking down into pit lane. 21, the lap car of Berry, but Larson this time is the only lead lap car that will bring it down. There's our pole sitter, Joey Logano. He is well behind the pack. I wouldn't necessarily say off the pace, but him, Briscoe, and Stenhouse looks like they just lost the leaders. So Larson and Berry into the pits. 71 of Michael McDowell's now going to take the lead. They'll go 3 wide for second. Trying to stretch it out to the finish here in the Cookout Clash. And still no one really making any moves amongst our leaders outside of that 16 when he came down. The strategy just not going to pay off for A.J. Allmendinger. McDowell leads, Blaney in second. The RFK teammates Priest and Buscher run 3-4. Hamlin in the 5 spot, Elliott 6th, Christopher Bell 7th. Larson trying to cycle out here. There's Ross Chastain, him and Austin Cindric. They're battling for position with Eric Jones and SVG waiting in the wings. 17's moving up here. Does that mean we got more pitters? Here we go. Pack of 5 now into the pits. Priest comes in. His teammate Buscher does not. 12, the 11, the 9, the 20. So a couple of Gibbs teammates pitting together. The 2 legacy cars, they're in the pit together. I haven't talked much about JHN tonight. So he comes down with Priest, Bubba, Joey Logano, Chase Briscoe. So a good pack coming in that time by. That will leave the 71 and the 17. A.J. Allmendinger trying to stay in front of that 71 right now to stay on the lead lap. As here we go. Rest of the pit cycle will now transpire. As McDowell, Buscher, Cindric, and Byron try to round out the pit cycle, and this is for McDowell trying to make it to the very end of this one. So we'll keep an eye here on the 71. As he pits, obviously 4 tires and gas. Buscher just a couple of pit stalls behind him, trying to try and get out in front of the 71 and wreak some havoc here as he's out of the pits, 71 right alongside of him. So, race off the pit lane, give it to the 71. Buscher out second with Cindric third and Byron out fourth. So this should, by all intents and purposes, cycle out to A.J. Allmendinger as the race leader once again. But again, did he pit too early to make it to the finish? We got just less than 15 laps to go. He'll pass the 17 and come up here on the 71 of Michael McDowell. He's running 198. McDowell's at 184. Good luck trying to hold off the faster 16 of A.J. Allmendinger. So the Dinger recycles out to the point. Looks like McDowell will settle into second. Blaney to third. Blaney's going to challenge the 71, though, as the 71's not back to full speed just yet. Priest fourth. His teammate Buscher fifth. That's a lap cars of Josh Berry and Alex Bowman. So about 5 cars in this lead group. But then you got the Hendrick teammates, Larson and Elliott and Hamlin in a little pack here. The 2 and the 1 going to try and catch up with them as well to try and run down the lead pack before all things are said and done. Or, the 45 could also wreak havoc again as well, as he is still out there. That's going to allow Ryan Blaney to scoot away with the race lead. We're going to keep an eye on this 45 here to see if he's going to slow up that second pack any bit. Will they be able to just run these guys down as Blaney's well out in front here as we near 12 laps to go? And these are lap cars 48 and 21. Here's the 45. Where are they going to catch him? Looks like they'll get him in the corner. Oh, Chase. Oh, Chase. That could be a problem. Well, maybe not. He'll be able to get down to the inside and clear that 45 with little to no problem. Approaching 10 laps to go. There's about a second of separation between the 5 of Kyle Larson and then the 17 of Chris Buscher, who's currently battling his teammate Ryan Priest for the 4th spot. That second pack is gonna catch. Gonna make this finish all the more exciting. Five cars currently amongst the leaders. The 5 trying to get around his slower teammate in the 48. That time by, what was the gap? About the same, about a second and a third behind the leaders, but they're coming, that 5 and the 11. Here comes the 1 of Ross Chastain trying to get by the 48. They'll catch him on the back stretch in a great spot. And then the 2 and the 9 just really got to stop running side by side and then just line up with each other to get around the 48 if they want to be in the fight for this win. 48 ducks down, 2 going to try and catch him on the front stretch. Indeed he will. At the line, Ryan Blaney leads. 10 laps to settle it. Ryan Priest ducks to the inside, trying to keep up there with a fellow Ford in Ryan Blaney. Everyone else, pretty single file. Outside of these two battling up here at the front, 17 just sticking it to the inside of his RFK teammate and Ryan Priest. 3 wide for second, and that's what that 5 and 11 want to see. And again, 2 factors still going to play in here. That slower 45 of Tyler Reddick, still running around out there like a Whelen Modified, even though he is definitely going to finish 22nd. And then, of course, can these guys make it on fuel and tires? Blaney out in front. RFK runs 2-3. And the 5 and the 11 have made their presence known as they have caught up here to the 16 and the 71. The 1 and the 2 starting to catch as well. And a race is on for the lead. 8 to go here at the stripe, and it's Ryan Priest pushed by his RFK teammate. That settles now into second place. 1-2 for RFK. Chase Elliott on the fringe of this pack, trying to just maintain whatever draft he can. Or is the 9 going to lose all of that? Granted, where's that 45 car at? Oh, we still got a ways to catch up to him. Now battle on for the race lead. Here comes the 17 to the inside. Chris Buescher at the stripe, dead even. Give it to the Bushman. Buescher on the inside. Now McDowell sticks it to the inside line. Make it 3 wide for the lead near the end of this cookout clash. Michael McDowell, the lone entry for Spire Motorsports. Trying to make James Qualls and Rafael Leduc a winner, albeit in an exhibition race. 4 cars on the inside, 3 in the middle groove, 2 up on the high side. Chase Elliott using that high side draft to stick with this pack at the stripe. 6 laps to settle it, with McDowell leading by half a car length. Again, can these guys make it to the finish? Did the late guys in the last pit cycle do just enough to make it to the end? Buescher settles back into the lead. McDowell in second. Here comes Ross Chastain for Trackhouse. He's on the inside. And he gets run up there by the 2. You got to think when or what these teammates, what they're going to start thinking about. If you got teammates up here, you got 2 RFK cars, you got 2 Penske. It's the 48's going to come out of the pits here. That might play a factor on that inside line. Slow things down, and there we go! Slash! The 48 basically just LePaged everybody, and that has brought out the caution. As we have just taken 5 to go. Well, now we know everybody can make it. Chris Buescher leads them back to the line. I mean, not only did Bowman come up into the traffic, he collected his teammate in Chase Elliott. The exhibition race, the first one of the season, our first event. Kyle Matthews and Charles Sanford might need to have a conversation at the haulers at the end of this one. And while these guys get ready to come down to the pits, why don't we just do it right here? Let's go back and take a look at what happened. Bowman was in the pits, obviously not in contention for this. I mean, guys, he LePaged it. I was concerned as he was riding that apron. The 2 was coming on the inside. There's the initial contact. And then collects the 9. The 48 was really the only one that spun. Well, there you go. The 60 gets collected. So he's got damage. Man, he was having a great night. And there's Chase. The 2 and the 12 even made some contact as well. As we'll back it up real quick. Watch it live here. 2 makes contact with the 48, but they keep on trucking. My goodness. High drama at the end of this cookout clash. The 48 making not such a smart move in the slightest. Whew, man, nearly made contact with the 20 and the 42 as they came by. So another 4-car incident as we go back to live. Did anyone come down into the pits? The 16, man, the 16 and the 47. 16 might be out of gas. As the 5 comes out, we might need to do some little magic here. If we're going to add some laps in, it looks like we're going to have a green-white checkered finish for this cookout clash. Chris Buescher is the race leader. He did not make any inclination to come down into the pits. The 16 and the 47 did. So really the strategy for A.J. Allmendinger just went out the window. So the way it all shakes out, Buescher with the lead, McDowell second, Ross Chastain third, Denny Hamlin fourth, Ryan Blaney fifth, his teammate Austin Cindric sixth, Ryan Preece with damage is seventh, SVG is eighth, Chase Elliott with damage is ninth, and Christopher Bell rounds out the top 10. So when they come down to the line, they will take 2 to go. We've added a little bit here to be able to have a green-white checkered finish. Oh, don't you love modern utilities for NR 2003? It's great. But this ultimately is going to make for... I mean, I think we were in for a great finish regardless if we had a yellow come out or not. But that was shaping out to be quite the exciting finish with 10 cars really in the hunt. Hopefully this works right here. Okay, good, it did. But my goodness. I do not want to be in that Hendrick hauler at the conclusion of this one. Again, I know nothing really is on the line here. But at the end of the day, you hate to see that happen with a couple of your cars. Already one with a lot of damage, and then now another one that might be a little bit slow on this restart as well. Again, pole day qualifying coming up later this afternoon. Yes, indeed, we're in the NASCAR overtime here in the Cookout Clash. Pole day qualifying coming up later on today. What that'll work is we'll have a 30-minute qualifying session, if you will, for all the entrants for the Daytona 500. And that will determine the front row for the Great American Race. Duels coming up soon, as well as the Great American Race, the Daytona 500 here in the NASCAR Mock season. Also later on tonight in MSC Primetime, we will flip gears over to the baseball timing as the LA Angels head to Houston to take on the Astros in the MLB Mock season. That comes your way later on tonight around 8:30 Central Time, right here on the Mock Season Central channel. This has been a fun one, a great way to open the season. As I believe when we come to the stripe, we will get the 1 to go signal, and then we indeed in overtime to determine the winner of the Cookout Clash. Waiting for that Toyota Camry pace car lights to go dim. There we go. So Chris Buescher is going to be the one to lead them back to the green. RFK Racing, one of two entries in this clash. Brad Keselowski not in this race. You'll see him in pole day qualifying. Corey LaJoie will run the 99 and try to race his way into the 500. That'll come up in the duels. How about Michael McDowell for Spire, the lone entry here in the clash for James Qualls and LeDuc. Ross Chastain. He's got his teammate SVG a few cars back. If they can get linked up here in the waning stages, that could make for an interesting finish. But you really got to think this Penske duo right here. For Dylan, the lone trio of ownership in this NASCAR Mock season, Dylan Young, Michael Norman, and Sean Henley. They are bunched up here 5 and 6. Now, granted, they're going to be on opposite rows from each other when these guys split into double file. But a lot can happen in 2 laps at Daytona, as we know. Buescher will drop down to the inside, McDowell to his outside. Chastain will be behind the 17. Penske cars in row 3. Preece and Elliott have damage. They did not come down and surrender their track position during the pits, potential chance to pit. So will they be up to speed for this final 2 laps of the Cookout Clash? Pace car will make the turn into the pits and send us loose for NASCAR overtime. If they don't make it to the white, we'll do it again. If they take the white, next flag ends the race. Green flag, 2 to go. McDowell with a great jump, and Elliott, nope, not going. So the 9 well off the pace, and that's going to really just screw 4 or 5 drivers out of a chance to run for the win. Here we go. They're getting antsy. 3 wide. Ross Chastain to the inside of the 17, trying to take the lead away. And he does. Down the back stretch they come. No one able to really get around that 9 back there. This group right here is going to decide the finish. Chastain on the inside, Buescher in that middle groove, trying to gain a little bit of run here off the corner. 17 pushes up, and some cars couldn't make it. Some cars could not make it to the end. White flag, Chastain by half a car length. This will be the bunch to finish it. Austin Cindric to the inside. He's pushed by Shane Van Gisbergen. 3 by 3 for these 2 rows to decide a winner in the Cookout Clash. Buescher on top. Chastain in the middle. Cindric on the bottom. Chastain slowing down here. Is he out of gas? The 1 might be out of gas. Out of 3 and 4 for the final time. Who can make it to the end? It's going to be the 17 for RFK, who will come down and win the Cookout Clash. He had just enough left in the tank to bring it home for the win, and Levi McIntyre and Tim Fiegel will be the first owners to throw a name in the win column, albeit I know it's a non-points event, but you got to love to see that. Buescher was strong in the back end of this one. Michael McDowell brings it home second. He's out of gas. Cindric comes home third. Denny Hamlin ends up fourth. Where's the 97? Where did he end up? He ran out of gas too. He's fifth. Chastain ended up sixth. Ooh, 45 of the 9 makes some contact there. How about William Byron ending up seventh after riding around in the back all night? Allmendinger ultimately brings it home 8th. For Colleague, give a call to Ricky Stenhouse. He comes home 9th, and then Kyle Larson rounds out the field in 10th. My goodness, what a finish to this one tonight. Let's bring you out wide here once it decides to figure itself out. For the full finishing order of this one, Chris Buescher, your winner, as he had just enough to make it to the end. McDowell 2nd, Cindric 4th, Hamlin 4th, SVG comes home in 5th. Man, that 97, I thought he was going to have a shot right there at the very end to come out on top. But ultimately comes home 5th. You see guys further in the back of the pack that could not make it to the end. Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, the legacy guys, JHN and Eric Jones. Man, Joey Logano started on the pole but just could not find his way back to the point. Briscoe rounds out the lead lap cars. Elliott ultimately finishes off the lead lap with his damage. Josh Berry, Bowman, Reddick, and Hill, they round out the pack. But man, what a run here in the inaugural event of the NASCAR Mock season. And it's RFK's Chris Buescher that comes out on top to win the 2026 Cookout Clash. Could that be a sign for good things to come for him this weekend? We're going to find out together. Coming up later today, we'll have pole day qualifying here at Daytona in a daytime configuration, a 30-minute qualifying session to determine the front row, the duels, and the 500 itself to follow later on as well. We thank you so much for joining us here on MSC. For all of our crew, I'm Carlos Zimmerman. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, congratulations to RFK, Levi McIntyre, and Tim Fiegel, and their driver, Chris Buescher, who comes out on top here today in the Cookout Clash. McDowell just short there for Spire, coming home in 2nd. We'll see you later on today, not only for pole day qualifying, but for action in the MLB Mock season as well, as you've watched this presentation of the NASCAR Mock season on the Mock Season Central Network.